Well, thanks for coming in today, Allison.
Absolutely.
It's great to have a conversation that's not encumbered by sitting behind a big round desk.
I agree.
Yes,
Thanks for having me.
yes, of
Yeah.
course. So I am wondering what was going on in your life prior to ever becoming a county commissioner?
Yeah, being a county commissioner was definitely not on my bucket list. My life looked a lot different then, but still had some similarities as now. I am married to my best friend. We've been married for almost 24 years. We have a son, and my life consisted of being a mom, and it also involved teaching preschoolers. I loved what I did. I taught both in the public school system, and my last 7 years were in the Christian school system, where I was able to pilot a nature-based preschool program. I had an opportunity to be outside with kids every day, and I slept well in the evenings. That's probably how I started really getting involved in the community, getting to know a lot of stories from people in the community, and having a heart for starting with kids, and then really surrounding that with the whole family. And so that was a lot of my early on experience prior to running. I taught for 21 years. I have a master's in early childhood, and it's really what I've been doing since I graduated from college at 21. And so that was my life prior to this.
Yeah, in fact, that's how we met,
It is.
because you had my youngest son in your nature-based preschool program, which was amazing, and he loved it, and so do we.
Yeah.
And so, you have always been so good with parents and supportive of families and an advocate for our kids. And so I know within our school system, we just had so much respect for you as a teacher.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes. So then what happened then? Being such an excellent teacher with such a passion for kids, what happened then to have you step away from that?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So back to 2020, I worked for the first year under the mandates and really watched that first year. What I was seeing is a lot of division and a lot of harm that was being done to children, but as well as to adults. It was affecting all of us in different ways. And so when I say the mandates, our school, like many in Ottawa County, we were under the mandates from the health department to put masks on our kids, healthy families. And so when children couldn't see my facial expressions, when they couldn't see me and participate in the same way that I had always participated with them before, that really concerned me. I also was seeing the harms it was doing to learning. When we had children that maybe have a hearing impairment and they lose that ability to do the cues on your face and to actually read lips, that's a problem. And so the mental health was another thing I noticed, that it was affecting not only children, but the adults in the school system. And it was not the same environment that I had always loved. And so after a year working under that, I respectfully shared with administration that if the mandates were to come back for a second time the following year, that I would have to make that hard choice, but I would need to walk away. And at that time, it was kind of not sure if it would come back. And sure enough, the weekend before the open house was scheduled, the mandates came back from our health department and told everyone that they needed to mask their children again. And over the course of that weekend, I would just say that I was called into a quiet time to just spend a lot of time reflecting, sitting with God, talking to Him. I sensed that He was not calling out to every teacher, but I did feel Him asking me to walk away. And I didn't understand what that all meant. I painfully did walk away, and I would say I grieved deeply that loss of 21 years of a career. Loved who I worked with. I loved the children. But I could no longer support a lie of what I felt was a lie to our families about what was best for them. And I believe our constitutional freedoms were under attack, and it was time for common sense. And I was hoping more would join with me. And I had the opportunity the very next day, actually. The very next day after I resigned, I ended up speaking for the first time at the Fillmore Complex at a Board of Commissioners meeting. I spoke pretty passionately from my heart because I had just walked away from a career and a job I loved the day before. And I basically pleaded with that board to use their voice, to use their role, to stand up, and to actually say, no, this is not okay. We are going to stand firm, and we are not going to have these mandates. And when that didn't happen, I would say a couple months went past. I took the time just to process and just to be. I ended up taking care of 2 young girls in my home that I used to teach for a full year, actually. A couple months into that, I was approached by Ottawa Impact to consider running. And it took me a little while to say yes. I wanted to make sure that I understood enough before I ran. Didn't understand everything. Obviously, I'm still learning,
Right.
As we all are in any journey that we're on. But I am thankful to be on this path, and that's kind of a little bit of where I got started. So,
Yeah. Well, you have been a commissioner who has been what I would call a bulldog advocate for your district, and I've really appreciated how you've dug in, and you come into meetings fully prepared and ready to go to bat for your people. And with the topics that have come up specifically that affect like the farmers in your district, you have just been such an advocate, and I kind of see that consistency from your teaching career into now your current role. And so I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about how you feel?
sure, being an advocate, I look back and I look at, there's nothing wasted in life. I think God uses everything that you've experienced in life to prepare you for what's next, whatever your next chapter is. And I look back and I go, wow, from the research that I learned how to research well in my college days, to being an inquisitive learner alongside children, to realize that you're never done learning, and to also realize that there's much to learn from others, that no one person has all of life's answers. And so it's been rewarding to meet so many talented people around our county. We have some of the most amazing people in the agriculture community. They have a wealth of knowledge. They're some of the most humble people who work really hard. And it's a privilege to be able to be a voice, one voice, on behalf of them. I would also say I have enjoyed digging in to understanding grants that come before us. So when grants have come before us, it's important to see if there are any strings attached to them that maybe would not be beneficial to our community. And we have had that happen a couple times over this last year. And it's really important to understand the trade-offs. So I don't know if you'd like me to speak about those at all, but I would say one of the grants that came before us from the health department was for the sense of boosting mental health for veterans in our community, because statistically they are at the highest rate of suicide here in our county, and that's an accurate statistic. And it also was an honorable thing to want to help our veterans. However, when we looked at the grant that came before us, it was a 3-month social media contract, which had an ending date. It was only a 3-month period. But then attached to that grant was a website that they were advertising called Man Therapy. And within that Man Therapy website, there was a link directing teens to contact people through the Trevor Project, talking to unlicensed counselors in their state, about things such as gender confusion, gender identity, sexual identity, and they would share that anything that they wanted to share with them would be kept from their parents, and I would say kept secret. And on the one hand, we're teaching our kids to talk to a parent or a trusted adult about things that they're concerned about or they're confused about. And on the other hand, this is going completely the other way and sending them to complete strangers who they do not know, and keeping that confidentially from their parents. And so from my perspective, I wasn't okay with that trade-off. So then we started looking for other ways. Well, how can we help those who are actually looking to help, which in this case was veterans with mental health. And I think that's one of my favorite things over the last year and a half was expanding our veterans department. Taking the time to carefully put out there a search for applications. And we had a director that came on in December, Jason Schenko. And I'm very thankful to see the work that he's already starting to do. There were so many veterans here in our county that had no idea that we even had a veterans department. And so even just getting the word out,
Right.
Being a hub so that we may not have every single service available at the county, but we certainly can be a hub that provides other services that people are already doing really well. So that's another area that I'm really appreciative of. That's just one example of a grant that we really had to look at well, and to research, because it doesn't come before us in a packet, all the information. It takes time to actually dig in.
Right, right. So one other characteristics of you is that you are highly conscientious. And you are the chair of the Talent and Recruitment Committee. So would you just like to talk a little bit about your work there?
Sure. So being the chair of the Talent Recruitment Committee has been an honor. It's been a privilege. I, as the chair, and then we have two other individuals that help serve in doing interviews for dozens and dozens of volunteers that come to work on a committee in the county. And it's such a privilege to meet so many people that have interest in serving their community in a variety of ways, whether that's serving on the Agriculture Preservation Board, whether it's serving on the Parks Commission or the Veterans Department. There's many others like Community Action Agency, Advisory Board, and more. And having an opportunity to meet them and then making sure that you are looking at the mission for every single department, the guidelines that are set both by bylaws or the state of Michigan may have a law attached to it as well. Being conscientious of making sure that they fit the guidelines, speaking with directors, getting their input, and then really looking at the needs of each committee, what is currently lacking, giving a good representation of basically our needs of the community. So.
Yes, and just another thing too is that whole process and the whole organization of those committees was severely lacking when we came into office. And so you have done a phenomenal job of researching and organizing and just really helping that whole process flow better.
Yeah, we're hoping to still have some more additions to going forward this fall even. We've been working on fine-tuning some things over the last year, and I look forward to being able to share that soon. So
great. So what are some of the other things that you've worked on? Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Sure. So over the last year, I think our community is very well aware that we had a broadband need across our county, and I was appointed to be chair of that committee. And I would say one of the reasons being appointed to that is because my district, which is District 11, it's a lot of the northern part of the county, seemed to be really having that as a need across the district. So when I went door knocking in 2022, there were countless citizens that would share that that was a need of theirs. And so with the whole shift in our generations, more people work from home, more people are teaching their kids at home, they're choosing to homeschool. Even just everyday life, I would say our agriculture community was a big need for internet and So that is something that I have been thankful for, to see that approved through our current board, and I hope to see more boots on the ground soon, that work will actually take place. Serving on the Parks Commission is another one that I take. I would say that I'm very thankful to be on that. That was something that came naturally to me by serving as the nature-based preschool teacher at Allendale Christian. I was thankful to be appointed to that board, and I have enjoyed all the parks in our county. I think they're one of the best in our state, if not further. And many people from all political spheres enjoy the parks. And I do believe it's an area that many can come together and use their voices and to work well together. We have an amazing staff that works hard. We've been working on projects such as Rosie Mound. We've had projects at Ottawa Sands and some different bike trails that we've been putting in. And again, I wish we could have some of our meetings outdoors sometimes. That would be great to actually, but we have had some of our meetings at Hemlock Crossings at their nature center, and that's been neat. They've also had a strategic plan that they've been working on and that I've been part of. And I really appreciated what Parks did was they involved many voices from the community. So they put out different surveys that everyone could participate in, and they put other surveys out there that maybe people who are working more frequently with the parks could take maybe a more detailed survey. That has been a neat part to be part of. So.
Yes, and I have to say I'm a little bit jealous of your work on the parks.
Yeah, it is a good one to be part of.
It is.
So there's a lot happening, even in the community engagement piece. There's so many programs that our parks offers for children, for families, I'd say for all ages. Bird watching seems to be a very popular one in the winter. A lot of people go to Hemlock Crossings and take classes, and many of the classes are free that people can join. So it's pretty neat to see all the work that's happening.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So going forward, what priorities do you have? What things are you looking forward to working on?
It's a good question. I would say the main one is continuing the good work that we've begun. When we came on in 2022, when many of the new board members came on, some of the things that we wanted to make sure that we were working hard on was protecting our conservative values of the county. And I think that remains a high priority for me, and not just me, but many individuals that I talk with. Many individuals, when they talk to me, they talk, yes, some about the normal county life stuff, such as water. That is a big concern for some people. I would say housing is a concern. Making sure that we are caring for agriculture. Agriculture is a big way of life for our community, and once you lose land, you don't get it back.
Right.
And so it's balancing the needs and the proper spot for where should housing be and where should the agriculture be protected. So that's still I would say a goal of mine. But also just really protecting our conservative values, going back to many comments that I've heard over and over again, that many people are concerned about the moral decay of our nation and our state, and they really want us to hold our values to a high precedence here at the county. And so when we are overseeing fiscal responsibility and setting policies for the county, that is something that I hope that we can continue the good work on together. That we can be looking forward to making this a spot where freedom rings for all people, and that everyone feels that it is a spot that when freedom rings, that all people belong here. So.
There's been a lot of conversation about, does God really belong, in Ottawa County? Should he really be talked about? Should faith really have a place in the public square? What are your thoughts on those things?
Great question. I love the question. So whether people want to acknowledge it or not, everyone is going to come into their position as an elected official with one of two worldviews. You are either going to come in with a biblical worldview, or you're going to come in with a secular worldview. There are no other worldviews. Those are the two. And so every decision that people make is going to come with that lens. I happen to be a believer, and I have a biblical worldview. I believe that faith very much belongs in the public square. It should never be a mandate on any one person that you need to believe a certain way. I do believe that when Christian principles are used to make decisions, I think that all people benefit, whether or not someone believes in God or not. And so taking God with me is something that he's part of me. He goes with me wherever I go. And so it's not something that I'm going to leave at the door of my house. He is going to be with me. He's where I get the most wisdom from, is being in his word. And then surrounding myself with other mature believers to help, to be praying for me in the background, and also to be going to and asking questions on things that maybe I'm not an expert in an area, and really searching what they would share. So.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
I'm just thankful to be in the seat. It's been a humbling journey. I don't take it lightly. I'm thankful for the people from my district, the encouragement that I've seen, talking with people at doors. I would say is one of the most rewarding things, and I wish everyone could experience it. If you walk into the boardroom sometimes, you see a hot mess with public comments where people are upset. If you take the time to talk to people one-on-one and actually have a conversation with them, I think if more people saw it that way and really treated people one another that way, I think our community would be in a lot healthier spot. And so I'm thankful for the door knocking again. And so that's something I would share.
Yeah. Well, I'm really thankful for your heart for people, because it really shines in how you interact with county staff and county residents, and your passion for advocating for people. So
Thanks,
just
Sylvia.
thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.